Assassination of Ali Khamenei. Iran confirms the death of its supreme leader in a joint U.S.-Israeli strike. 40 days of mourning. Iran enters an official period of mourning following Khamenei's death. Toppling of Khomeini monuments. Protesters in Galedar and Dalaran have begun toppling statues of Islamic Republic founders. Ballistic strikes on Cyprus. 2 missiles intercepted near British bases in Cyprus. President Christodoulidis states Cyprus is not a target. RAF Artillery drone hit. A British airbase in Cyprus was struck by a drone. No casualties reported. Death of high-ranking officials. Airstrikes in Tehran killed IRGC leaders Abdul Rahim Mousavi and Aziz Nasirzadeh. Ahmadinejad alive. Contrary to reports of his death in a strike, advisors confirm former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is alive. Bahrain U.S. Embassy strike. An Iranian drone struck a hotel housing U.S. Embassy personnel in Manama. Synagogue strike in Beit Shemesh. An Iranian missile hit a synagogue near Jerusalem, killing 9 and wounding 49. UAE French base struck. Iranian Shade drones hit the French naval air station in Abu Dhabi. Fatwa against U.S.-Israel. Iranian clerics declare jihad and issue a fatwa against American and Israeli forces. Fresh Tehran air raids. Israeli Air Force continues strikes on IRGC and besieged facilities across Tehran. Oman port injury. A drone strike on Duqm port injured 1 person. A tanker in the Gulf of Oman was also hit. USS Abraham Lincoln attacked. IRGC claims missile launches against the U.S. aircraft carrier in the Indian Ocean. U.S. service member casualties. CENTCOM confirms 3 U.S. troops killed and 5 wounded in an Iranian missile strike. Iraqi militia headquarters hit. A strike in Diyala Governorate killed 4 members of the Popular Mobilization Forces. IRS Jumran sunk. U.S. forces sank the Iranian frigate IRS Jumran off the coast of Chabahar port. Al Minhad Air Base damaged. Australian headquarters in the UAE damaged by a drone. No casualties reported. Fujairah oil terminal fire. Large blaze reported at a UAE oil hub following a Shade drone attack. French Rafale deployment. France sends fighter jets to the UAE in response to Iranian aggression. HMS Dragon to Cyprus. UK approves warship deployment to protect territories from further Iranian strikes. Qatari sabotage arrests. Qatar detained 10 IRGC cell members for espionage and planned sabotage. U.S. Embassy Riyadh fire. Explosions reported at the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia after drone strikes. 787 Iranians dead. Iranian Red Crescent reports rising death toll from U.S.-Israeli strikes. Tehran administrative strikes. Israeli jets hit presidential and Supreme National Security Council buildings. Natanz nuclear facility bombing. Entrances to the underground site hit, though no radiation increases detected. Qom airstrikes. The Assembly of Experts building in the holy city of Qom severely damaged. IRS Shahid Soleimani destroyed. U.S. forces destroy Iran's lead corvette in a major naval engagement. Israeli ground invasion of Lebanon. IDF launches offensive into Lebanon to capture Hezbollah border positions. IRS Dana sunk. U.S. submarine USS Charlotte torpedoed the Iranian frigate off Sri Lanka. 87 dead. Turkish airspace intercept. Turkey and NATO shoot down a ballistic missile entering Turkish airspace. YAK-130 shot down. An Israeli F-35 downed an Iranian fighter jet over Tehran. U.S. air supremacy goal. Secretary Pete Hegseth predicts uncontested air supremacy over Iran within days. Iran-U.S. back-channel talks. Intelligence sources suggest Iranian openness to ending the conflict. Al Udeid base strike. Iranian missile hits the largest U.S. military base in Qatar. Austin bar shooting. FBI investigates a mass shooting in Austin as potential terrorism linked to the war. Senate War Powers Resolution. U.S. Senate rejects a resolution to check President Trump's war powers. Phoenix anti-war protests. Demonstrations near the Arizona Capitol against U.S. strikes in the Middle East. Des Moines anti-war rallies. Protests in Iowa call for an end to the Iran conflict. Washington Square Park clash. Pro-Khamenei and anti-war protesters clash in New York City. Brian McGinnis interruption. Marine veteran removed from Senate hearing after protesting the war. Secretary Mullen nomination. Trump dismisses Kristi Noem and nominates Mark Wayne Mullen for Homeland Security. Brandon Herrera nominee. Gun manufacturer Brandon Herrera becomes the presumptive GOP nominee for TX23. No Kings movement spreads. Nationwide peaceful protests continue against federal immigration operations. Ottawa defense protest. Anti-war activists demonstrate outside a defense conference in Canada. Economy and finance. Conference Board consumer confidence. March index released at 10 a.m. Analysts forecast a dip to 86. S&P Case and Shiller home prices. January home price index out at 9 a.m. 1.3% growth expected. JOLTS job openings. February data released today. Forecast sits at 6.7 million openings. Faraday future earnings. FAAI reports Q4 and full year 2025 results after market close. Nike, NKE, earnings. Retail giant reports today. Focus is on consumer resilience. McCormick MKC earnings. Major food player reports signaling inflation's impact on grocery costs. Forex volatility. USD JPY approaches 161.00 intervention threshold amid Middle East risk premium. Safe haven dollar demand. Persistent demand for USD as geopolitical tensions escalate. Fed rate cut expectations. Traders watch for signals on mid-2026 rate cuts despite hawkish Powell comments. PMI composite data. S&P Global releases U.S. composite PMI at 9:45 a.m. ISM non-manufacturing survey. Key service sector data released at 10 a.m. Foreign tax credit deadline. March 31st is the critical deadline for Form 67 filings for many taxpayers. Amazon Big Spring Sale ends. Final day for major discounts across home and fashion categories. Gold prices surge. Geopolitical risk continues to push investors toward gold as a safe asset. Oil market volatility. Middle East strikes keep crude prices fluctuating near recent highs. U.S. versus Portugal friendly. U.S. men's national soccer team faces Portugal in Atlanta. MLB, Cardinals versus Mets. Key early season matchup at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. MLB, Tigers versus Diamondbacks. Interleague play continues with search interest in Detroit and Arizona. MLB, Yankees versus Mariners. High volume matchup airing on TBS and True TV. McDonald's All-American Games. High school basketball's elite compete in Glendale, Arizona. NBA, Knicks versus Rockets. New York travels to Houston for a cross-conference showdown. NBA, Clippers versus Portland. Portland visits Los Angeles in late-night Pacific action. The Masters ticket frenzy. Search volume spikes for 2026 Masters tickets ahead of next week's tournament. UEFA World Cup qualifier. Bosnia-Herzegovina faces Italy in a high-stakes playoff match. WTA Charleston. Early rounds of the Credit One Charleston Open begin today. Auburn versus Georgia Tech. Major college baseball matchup airing on ESPN2.
Wichita Saint versus Oklahoma. Top-tier college softball clash on SEC Network. UFC 325 hype. Early betting lines and previews for Volkanovski versus Lopes dominate MMA searches. NASCAR Martinsville fallout. Martinsville race analysis continues to trend among racing fans. March Madness recap. Final Four previews begin as the tournament reaches its peak.